So this video is going to be referring to a book I mentioned in my video which covers 3 Long Island Railroad branches. This book, written by Stan Fischler, details the history of the company from its formation to the present time. There are so many bits and pockets of information in this book, and it would be impossible to cover it all in one video. So, I would be making however many parts, each focusing on a certain time in the LIRR's history. The book is split into 8 chapters, but because of the amount of info in each chapter, I will be splitting up these videos however I see fit. Anyways, with that out of the way, please enjoy this first part. So it began in 1832. Major D.B. Douglas of the Brooklyn and Jamaica Railroad Company had an idea to make travel from New York to Boston quicker. Initially, you would have to take a 16-hour boat ride. However, being the chief engineer of a railroad company, he proposed combining train travel and boat travel together. And so on the 25th of April of that year, the Brooklyn and Jamaica was incorporated. Its purpose was to construct a track from a Brooklyn terminal at Flatbush Avenue and go 10 miles to Jamaica, Queens. Passengers would be able to ride along Atlantic Avenue, looking out the window to the sights of a city still in its growth. Eventually, on April 18, 1836, the project was completed. Today, you would know this route as the Atlantic Branch. Next, the plan was to construct a track across various counties in Long Island, all the way to Greenport, where passengers could take a boat to Connecticut, where they could subsequently hop on a train to take them to Boston. In order to do this, the Long Island Railroad Company was formed on April 24, 1834. It would lease the Brooklyn and Jamaica Railroad, which at the time was still constructing the Brooklyn to Jamaica stretch. However, faith in being able to run trains across the proposed route was quite low, considering trains would be running through marshes, especially in Connecticut. Nevertheless, the LIRR pushed through to bring their blueprints to reality. The company's hopes were to gather as many passengers as it could along the route to Greenport, and so it had a task of connecting as many towns as it could. In 1837, a track was constructed from Jamaica to Hicksville, yet it still managed to not serve several populated areas, which the railroad would have benefited from. There were only 3 stations, Flatbush Avenue, Jamaica, and Hicksville. It was becoming clear that the lease the LIRR had with the Brooklyn and Jamaica Railroad was becoming too costly, with it being $33 grand for 45 years. This was a time when the LIRR didn't really have branch lines, and so payments were usually late, but loans were able to keep the company afloat. Meanwhile, a western team began construction from Greenport to meet up with the eastern team, which was making progress across the vast uninhabited areas of Long Island. Now, here's a tale that is believed to be false by some historians, but being the amateur that I am, I'll tell you it. The track that was being constructed for the Greenport route used rail manufactured in Liverpool, England. This posed an issue as transporting those rails across the ocean took time. This issue really came about when the workers were nearly completed on the line, when suddenly they ran out of rail. So, they came up with a solution. They found a nearby forest and used timber and some scrap iron to make some makeshift tracks. If this tale is even true or not, I don't know, but it does show the determination of the workers into completing this massive project. And that project would eventually be finished. This actually predated the Golden Spike movement, which joined the Union Pacific Railroad and the Central Pacific Railroad, of course completing the Transcontinental Railroad. But as for the Long Island Railroad, this was an accomplishment not to be ignored, as no other company really dared to construct tracks across the island. On the 27th of July, 1844, the first 3 trains ran the route from Brooklyn to Greenport in only 3.5 hours, less than the 5 hours proposed by Major Douglas. According to writer Peter Ross, the 2 terminals proved that passengers starting their journey at any other stations that were built along the route could predict when their train would arrive based on when it left one of the terminals. This route was the original main line of the LIRR, with the Jamaica to Greenport stretch still being part of the modern main line. And, as mentioned before, the tracks from Brooklyn to Jamaica are now the Atlantic Branch. And so that concludes this first part of a series that I have no idea on how long it would take to do. I didn't even get through the first chapter for this video, but I'm still excited to read on and see where the story takes the LIRR to. If you want to see more videos regarding this book, then consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. I'll see you next time.